Have you ever heard the phrase, "go pack your bags"? It may sound trite to most, but for me it was the beginning of a whole new phase of life. It wasn't just words, it was a challenge that changed everything. "And your Yanka turned out to be a wastrel," her mother-in-law said contemptuously. "Well, what can you do now?" Kolya replied dejectedly. All this, of course, was not meant for the young woman's ears. She was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, and there was no reason to surprise her husband and come back early from work. Well, did you get it? In principle, nothing new for herself Jana did not hear. How else can you call your mother-in-law who 15 years ineffectively waiting for grandchildren? Of course hollow flower, and that would still be relatively decent. Therefore to her husband's mommy had no complaints. Absolutely agree with you, Eva Romanovna. But from her husband she expected not that at all, but something like, well, so what? It's not a hindrance to our happiness. I still love her. And that would have been enough for her. And they would have gone on living. But that dejected tone of Nikolai's. But after all, only yesterday he had said quite calmly that the absence of children had not affected, did not affect, and would not affect their relationship. It turned out that in one case he was definitely lying. Question: in what case? I did not want to quarrel and clarify the relationship. So Jana did what many people do. Quietly went out and loudly came in again. After all, in principle, she and Kolya, well, everything was going well. There was love, prosperity, and their own home, bought by Jana before the wedding. In short, live, don't want to. Except that the couple had no children. Yes, and for some unknown reason, it seems that both were healthy and some nonsense. At first, however, they did not plan to have children. For the first few years, they would live for themselves. While they are young, they should take everything from life. And children can only interfere with that. But a couple of years of turbulent life with entertainment, travel, and eternal celebration somehow quickly got boring, and the couple began to work intensively in the right direction. But the long-awaited pregnancy did not come. Both went to the doctors, but no pathology could be identified. God doesn't give. For some reason, this only explanation did not suit anyone. Both of them wanted children very much, especially Kolya, and also his mother. And now, apparently, mother and son were talking about a burning topic: grandchildren. Jana was getting tired of the whole mess, and blaming only herself for what was happening, she suggested that her husband divorce her. In her mind, that would be fair. To give birth, I apparently will not be able to, so why do you suffer, Kolenka? Maybe you will find your happiness and the one who will give you a baby. But her husband calmed her down. Don't even stutter, and do not worry, you can live without children. The main thing is that we love each other. Yes, we can, but she really wanted to have a child. Time passed. 10 years of fruitless attempts failed. 10 years. Perhaps I should, as they say, forget about it and live in peace. Both of them rejected the orphanage option, only their own, and there was no one of their own. One day Jana was coming from the clinic where she still continued to go just out of inertia, and again she was told that she was perfectly healthy. To improve her bad mood, she bought herself an ice cream and walked home. The weather was good. And then the young woman met Vaska, a friend of her husband's, who was walking home from an event when he was a little drunk. And quite unintentionally, in the resulting conversation about health, drunken Vaska blabbed that Kolyan, even before meeting Yanka, made himself a vasectomy. Why? No one knew. He just made such a decision for himself, and that's all. Whether he was, according to his beliefs, this very child-free, or for some other unknown reason. Therefore he could never have children, and my husband knew that very well. We were dumbfounded when he told us. A friend told us, and this, in his 20s. This, do not tell him that I blabbed. He might. Dumbfounded Yanka nodded silently. The case was turning out to be completely different, and clearly not good. It turns out that her husband, well aware of the fact that they could not have children through his fault, for 10 years insisted that she gave birth. And it was no longer just lying and silencing information, but smelled of meanness, bullying, and even mockery, if you will. But why? And is this how normal people behave? No and no again. From everything it seemed that there was a pathology here. But what kind of pathology? Jana searched the internet. The husband was social gardening personality disorder, and aggravated psychopathy. The kind of rotating and sophisticated behavior that only a psyop can do. Now it could all be called bullying, which is the buzzword of the day. And did his beloved mommy know about the vasectomy? Logically, she should have known it was an operation. Then why not him, and she, a hollow flower? Yes, the rose-colored glasses broke, and glass inside, as usually always happens. The truth stunned, and the epiphany was astonishing. Indeed, unnecessary knowledge multiplies sorrow. She should have left the clinic later, then she would not have met Vasca with such a clear truth. But then, she would have continued her attempts to get pregnant, chronically stressed by her inferiority. And she was starting to feel that way more and more often. Let it be better such a terrible end, but not just the end of the relationship. To bring everything down, Nikolai was not allowed. Well what, Kalenka, you really wanted a child? Even two? I'll soon make you happy. So thought Yanka, thirsty for revenge. No, cheat on her husband, of course she was not going to, and why should she? You can just lie about the pregnancy. Yes, about the long-awaited pregnancy which never came. And see how it turns out. It is unlikely that a man who went for a vasectomy will be happy about his wife's pregnancy. What is the occasion of the holiday? Nikolai asked, seeing on the table a bottle of champagne and lit candles. I have for you stunning news, conspiratorially said Jana. You were promoted? Joyfully tensed, Nikolai's smart wife clearly went to the promotion. Much better, Kalenka. Our titanic efforts were crowned with success and we finally succeeded. You are a schemer, my dear, said the husband jokingly. Come on, don't keep me waiting. I'm all ears. I'm pregnant. Trying to speak plausibly, Yanka blurted out. You're about to become a daddy! Well what? Celebrate future father? Poor! Oh you... Held back and did not say a swear word that wanted to burst from the tongue man. What is it, my love? Aren't you glad? Yanka asked affectionately, though she wanted to smack him on the back of the head. You've been buzzing my ears about children. Here, get it. By the way, and your mother will be very happy. And then you've been saying, empty flower, empty flower. Nicholas looked at his smiling wife, completely unaware of how to behave. If you confess to the vasectomy and expose the treacherous cheater, then it will then need to somehow explain his dishonest behavior towards Jana. And decency here, and did not smell, it is he lied for 10 years and forced her to be treated. And if you don't say anything about the operation, then you'll have to fake joy. And how can you do it, if you clearly cheated and brought in the hem of who knows who, and you don't know from whom? Well, what shall we name our daughter? Yanka asked, still smiling. Say something, dear daddy. Dear daddy, being in a complete stupor, could not utter a word. Their ideal family was collapsing like a house of cards, and how well everything was going. Next to, smart and beautiful wife with her own apartment, and, no children, these drooling and snotty Bachnagrizas. After all, vasectomy excludes the occurrence of pregnancy. And it did. So what happened? Are you sure about that? Trying to speak calmly, asked Nikolai. Do not confuse anything? In this question there was a hidden hope. Now she will say that either mistaken or joked. But the question was too painful to make jokes about it. Did she really cheat? And what to do now? Yanka, with interest, looked at the Yulalivayushim before her husband. Well, what? Panicked? It was obvious that none of the options looming in front of him man did not suit. And how will you get out of it now, my dear? Come on, show some wit. You've been successfully showing it for 10 years. Come on, for the last time, fire all your guns. Yes, lastly, Jana of course decided to file for divorce, because it was on the part of her husband pure meanness and betrayal, and it could not be forgiven. In addition, she really wanted to have a child, there were no other options. Come on, do not worry. Yanka relented. I was joking about the pregnancy. Yes? Kolya exhaled and thought, thank you God, though he didn't believe in God and didn't wear a cross. Yes, but there's a reason to drink. I'm filing for divorce. But why? The man who came to himself quickly regained his former confidence. Divorce from the intelligent and economic Yanka in his plans did not include. Were we bad together? I love you. You love me? And why then arranged all these tricks with pregnancy if you cannot have children? Why didn't you confess right away? The woman came out with a trump card. Who said so? The husband yelled. How did you know? Vaska, run! Thought Yanka, but out loud she said, Grandpa Pato, from a camel. Did she answer? Go pack your things, wounded in the Kolchak battles. Completely lost face, Nikolai came to a strange state. It was both stupor and a state of inner excitement. I think it is called some kind of psychopathic syndrome, when a person is unable to come to any decision but only fumbles about in vain. Well, I won't stop you from rushing around, sorry, packing, said Yanka, who didn't want to help her husband come to his senses. He had started it first. I'll come in 2 hours so you won't be here. Yes, not alone but with my brother. And I came characteristically with my rocking brother, for insurance. But by that time, my husband was already gone. He had safely gone to the place of registration, to my mother's one bedroom. Because he realized that here he has nothing to gain. And his deeds, yes, deeds, if he wanted to, he could be charged with a felony. And Yankee had money for a good lawyer. She was in general very smart, beautiful and moneyed, his ex-wife. That's all. It's sad, it's hurtful, but it's not fatal, and it's good that it's over, and Yanko will still have time to give birth. What are our years?